Hey, I want to talk to you. Yeah, you. You starting to get negative about the Montreal Canadiens and their season this year? I have been seeing a lot of negativity lately. I don't know, it might have something to do with the 8-2 loss that the Montreal Canadiens experienced Tuesday night, October 29th, against the Seattle Kraken. But I'm here to tell you, there's no need to panic, man. Everything's fine. It's fine. And I'm going to tell you why. Let's talk about it.
One more Neutrogena tantrum out of you and you're getting the gate, bud. Try me.
So like I said, I've been seeing a lot of negativity, and I've actually heard the negativity rebound from the players, talking with the media. Even Montreal St. Louis has expressed some of his displeasure with criticisms from journalists and analysts.
You're unable to kind of maintain momentum sometimes.
No, but I'm sure you guys will figure it out and will write about it, what's wrong. But right now the wrong thing is that we got scored, or they scored eight times on us, and we have to figure out that. Doesn't matter if we won 2 last games, if something like this happens.
Thank you, Johan.
Thanks, Johan. Thank you.
But I'll tell you one thing that you can't be negative about: the growth of this channel. Oh my gosh, we're almost at 5,000 subscribers. Thank you so much, guys. Like every little video that I put up, get close to 100 subscribers every time a video really goes big. That's great. So I just want to thank you all again for your support. Thanks for your help in growing this community and this channel. But as I was saying, Juraj Slafkovsky kind of got snippy with the media the other night after the game with the Kraken. And then before that, Montreal St. Louis was asked about criticism he got about some analysts. I'm not sure who he's talking about specifically, and I'm going to paraphrase what he said, but it was essentially, why would I listen to criticism from somebody that I wouldn't take advice from?
Yeah, I know where you're going, Eric. Obviously the noise, right? And I'll tell you why I don't listen to stuff, because why would I listen to a critic from somebody I would never go for advice for? I usually overcome the obstacles and the people that doubt, and it fuels me. So I appreciate the market.
That's completely valid. That makes a lot of sense. And then again, the other night, after the game against the Kraken, St. Louis was asked, can you understand the fans' frustrations? And he responded, yeah, for sure I do. I get it. I'm disappointed like they are, and I understand where they're coming from. To me, that sounds like a pretty sane, rational, realistic answer, right? Well, not to some fans. And this is where it kind of calls into question, are these bots? But who would be spending the time and creating bots to argue against this line of thinking? He's disappointed in the results. He's the owner of that. He tries to make a difference, unless you have some sort of inside scoop that Montreal St. Louis, behind closed doors, is not talking with his players, trying to figure things out, reviewing the tapes, running drills, practicing. Like, to me, I can understand people being disappointed and shouting that they want better, but to say that the team, players, coaches don't care, you're off on a whole different planet. These are professionals, they're competitors, they don't like losing. Just because they're getting millions of dollars and they get their paycheck no matter what, doesn't mean that they all of a sudden don't care about their job. I just think it's a little rich. And even in the most positive communities, I see individuals responding to the Seattle game as if the team has taken a huge step backwards this season. It's one game. Get a grip. Further to that, this whole season has kind of been plagued by individuals supposing that this rebuild has been sabotaged by Hughes, Gorton, St. Louis. It drives me a little bit nuts, because before the start of the season, everyone was so high on hopium, and it seems like after every single loss, some sort of a quiet majority just starts posting and getting mad, yelling at clouds about the state of affairs and where the team has gotten in these 3 short rebuild years. I think you're showing your ass a little bit by saying things like that. Like, as soon as I see a comment like that, I immediately don't take you seriously. Maybe you're a Toronto fan, or maybe you are running some sort of a subterfuge to sabotage the community. Or maybe these individuals are just shysters and grifters who want the community to turn backwards and become more negative. In terms of the rebuild, it's 3 years. Some teams have managed to turn a team around in that amount of time, like Toronto, for example. Toronto had a pretty quick turnaround time on their rebuild, but they also got a power forward that was a generational talent who immediately produced and ran around that and built the core around that. But looking at Toronto now, I don't want to get too heady into this, and I don't really think I can back my arguments with very strong evidence, so I'm kind of going to be careful not to show my own about this. But Toronto is still filling the gaps of how much they front-loaded their team, right? And their prospect pool suffered a little bit because of that, but they do have a fairly good prospect pool considering. I think they got really lucky. But with the Canadiens, it was different. They retained very few veteran players and created a rebuild around the core or building block players of about 5 individuals. Better than some teams who have gone full scorched earth like the San Jose Sharks. Remember when the San Jose Sharks were a wagon and now they're breaking records for having such bad season starts? Or even compared to Philadelphia, who started the rebuild with 2 core players. Or then going way back to Buffalo in 2013 when they started their rebuild. That was kind of like starting fresh. And then what happened? A lot of missteps. And then only recently, it seems like they're finding their footing finally, but the results are not there. Kind of off topic, but Buffalo and Ottawa, you guys are the 2 most talented teams that just can't seem to make it work. But I guess Buffalo's a good comparison, because if you were the owner of a team, would you rather have the Montreal Canadiens or the Buffalo Sabres? Considering that the Buffalo Sabres basically have 2 solid forward lines, full lines that can produce, and then 2 defensive pairings that are excellent defensive pairings, plus 2 green but very solid goalies, UPL and Devin Levi. I'm still picking the Habs 10 times out of 10. And it's because they're so young, because they're in such an early phase of development and the rebuild process. Are they going to trade players away? Are they going to acquire new players? Yes, of course. Are there still drafts coming up that there's going to be big placements where the Montreal Canadiens obtain a high number draft pick? Yes, that too. They're not done. Why are people acting like they should be cup competitors right now? It actually drives me a little bit bonkers. If you think that way, just go put your face under cold water for a minute, splash your face, slap yourself, tell yourself that you can do better. Like, am I talking some sense here? Does this all make sense? There are plenty of teams in the NHL right now that are in the middle of a rebuild, and Montreal's just one of them. Really, Montreal is competing against the Blackhawks, Columbus, Utah, Anaheim, St. Louis, Calgary, Philadelphia, San Jose. Think of in like 4 or 5 years, they're probably playing meaningful games at that point. Maybe they're getting into the thick of the playoffs. What teams do you think are going to be falling from grace at that point? Well, we're already seeing Pittsburgh needing to rebuild essentially. They're going to reconstruct their team, I think, until Crosby gives up the ghost. Capitals are at the end of their rope. Who else are aging teams? I mean, Boston's had it too good for too long. We're starting to see that happen now. Still feel like they could probably rise from the grave. Winnipeg's in a strange spot, honestly. I think they just perform really well as a team, but once you start knocking components off that team, they could get into trouble. Individuals like Perfetti might not be able to hold up the team. So there's interesting times ahead. You just need to be patient. Realize that Line A has still yet to be implemented. Reinbacher, depending on how he does and develops, could be another essential piece, although I am worried about that pick. I think that was a misstep for the team. If you're going to criticize Hughes and Gordon on anything, it might have been choosing Reinbacher over Matvei Michkov. Anyway, what I'm doing here is kind of hypocritical because I am analyzing it. I'm not a professional. I'm calling it like I see it. I just want to kind of implore on you that there's not really a need to get negative. There's certainly no need to criticize players or even coaches to the point where you think that they're not doing a good job or that they don't care. If you think that way, it's kind of obvious you've never been a competitor before in the past. Certainly there are individuals who can get lazy or discouraged, but I don't think that's what's happening here necessarily. It certainly wouldn't be the contributing factor to why the Montreal Canadiens are 4-5-1 right now. Literally 1 game away from being 3rd place or 2 from being away from 2nd. Just relax. Seriously, relax. It's almost Halloween. I want to know, are you participating in Halloween this year? Are you dressing up? Are you going out trick-or-treating? Are you bringing your kids out trick-or-treating? What's your favorite candy? Let me know in the comments. That's going to do it for me, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry if this was more of a heady video than I usually do. I thought it was an interesting topic, and I thought maybe some of you would be interested in it. As always, I really appreciate all the support. Like the video, helps me out with search results. Subscribe if you're not already a whiskey fiend. And as always, I'll see you down below in the comments.